Coolidge, Arizona, Gallopin Goose Bar rescue, one of the most controversial episodes in the show's history. The owner was a real piece of work, but what's happened since? Has he been arrested for multiple crimes? Was there crimes actually at the bar? You got to stay tuned and watch this episode. Let's go. In this episode, we meet Scott and Stacy. They are together with children. Scott had a mistress, or a few, ended up getting one of them pregnant. Stacy left. They were co-owners of this bar who owned it since 2009. Scott started struggling with bar ownership, invited Stacy back. She had took their children and moved out of California. Stacy, having a heart of gold, ends up coming back and helps him run the struggling bar. Stacy ends up coming back. They run a bar together and end up being successful. They're making $80,000 a month at one point. But Scott, being the wonderful guy that he is, they let the bar go and they start struggling. Even so much to where they weren't even having air conditioning in summer months in Arizona. If you've ever been to Arizona during the summer, it's brutal. We're talking about 115 degrees plus at some points. When Jon Taffer shows up, he sees a stage area that is not being utilized. The bar is uneven, on a slant, and being propped up. The food is absolutely horrendous. And Jon also sees Scott yell and get into a fight with Stacy, which takes some balls because Stacy came back to help Scott, and Scott has nerve to get mad and yell at her and blame her for the bar's failing. This is where Jon Taffer learns that Scott's reputation around town is not good. The local community hates Scott, and that's part of the reason why the bar is losing money, is because people do not want to support him. After a much needed work stress test, Jon Taffer decides to remodel the bar. And I went there. I'll show you the video as we get later in the video. But let me tell you, it's about as dive bar can get. You really can't tell that there was an exceptional remodel, unlike some of the other bar rescue episodes. He did keep the same name as well because Gallopin Goose is kind of like a landmark, and everybody knows that name. So he did keep the name. But the bar, I mean, if you go in there for the first time, it doesn't look like it was remodeled a few years ago. It's still needs some work, but if you're really into dive bars, you might like this one. You aren't gonna believe what's happened since the bar rescue episode. The owners, let's just say, he's a really great guy. He's a real piece of work. He's been in trouble, not only before the episode, but since the episode. There's also been some crime at the bar itself. The bar is not in a great location, but stay tuned because we'll break it all down. At the 6-week checkup of the bar was reporting a 40% increase in profits, which gave Scott and Stacy some additional money, which Scott then used to expand an outdoor seating area, which I'll show you in a video while I was there. The money also went to other places. Scott claims to be a serial entrepreneur. He used some of the money from Gallopin Goose to start other businesses, some of which included shady practices. What's happened with Scott since the bar rescue episode? Scott claims to be the CEO of United Medical Solutions, also president and founder of Greenleaf Capital Group. In January 2023, Scott and another man pled guilty to one act of conspiracy to a kickback law, which is essentially insurance fraud / healthcare fraud. I'll just read this here. Scott had founded a company called American Health Screening that provided marketing services to healthcare labs. From the United States Attorney's Office from July 2020 through January 21, Hennigan and Warman and others agreed to engage in a scheme to provide DME orders and generic testing referrals for Medicare beneficiaries in exchange for kickbacks for approximately $1,500 per patient, or for each test that resulted in a reimbursement from Medicare. Hennigan and Warman received kickbacks of at least $547,310 for durable medical equipment and at least $18,319 for generic testing. Hennigan and Warman's scheme resulted in an actual loss to Medicare of at least $565,000 and 629 cents. $565,000. That's not all. In 2023, there was a shooting at the bar that stemmed from two women getting into an argument in the bar, which spewed outside into the parking lot, and shots erupted. One person was killed, 3 were injured. Now, I will say that this was not on Scott and Stacy's watch. They had sold the bar, so this was under new ownership. As mentioned, Scott and Stacy are no longer the owners. As of November of 2023, the new owners have taken possession of the bar. They had planned to purchase it back in 2021, but due to paperwork, legalities, COVID, things like that, it got pushed to November 2023. They are trying to change the reputation of the bar. When I went on a Sunday afternoon, it was not busy at all. The service seemed to be okay. I got seated really quickly. They seemed to be nice and friendly, but I'm not a huge dive bar, truck stop bar type person. That's kind of what this gave me a feel of. The outdoor area is still there. The stage area is still there. They do implement things like karaoke. They do want you to dance and have fun. They had some games, which was nice. But again, it not really my scene. However, if you are in Arizona, if you do like that kind of atmosphere, I would recommend checking it out. See if they can overcome the reputation that that bar currently has. The reviews are in about average on Google right now. Currently sits at a 4.2. A lot of the lowest ratings of 1 star comes from 10 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Much more from the old ownership than the new ownership. The most recent reviews do rate it pretty highly on Google. On TripAdvisor, it has a 3.5. On Yelp, it has a 3.1. Again, those are kind of older platforms I usually see. Google is the more up-to-date review platforms that a lot of people use, so I tend to go by those. But again, if you're in the area in Coolidge, Arizona, check it out. That's it for this video. Make sure you tune in for the next one where we'll be doing more bar rescue updates and stops. Let me know down in the comments what kind of content you want to see. If you want me to go there, if you just want me to review it, talk about it, let me know. I want to create an interactive channel. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one.